Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting edition, episode 2. Can you believe it? Of a recorded episode.
We made it 2 weeks in a row. Well, I guess not 2 weeks in a row, but two scheduled meetings in a row to put this podcast together, and I'm already impressed with us.
You know, I said we have an exciting episode, and we truly do, because we've scheduled ourselves a visitor. We're missing one member of Exotic Youth and Cornelius Pepperbottom. We'll dive into that a little later, where he's at. But, ladies and gentlemen, allow us to introduce a man that we met during WrestleMania weekend in Dallas. And it was a unique meeting. A man that we never would have met if it weren't for an opportunity with MLW. The host of AJ Presents the Greater Good podcast and MLW's live event coordinator, Mr. AJ Scales.
What an introduction.
Hello, world of on-demand audio and video. It's an absolute pleasure to have the company of these talented young men. They were on the ground floor of my ascent, air quotations, I guess you could say, of pro wrestling, depending on who you ask, and they're world class. I've followed every single thing you fellas have done from the day I met you because you guys get it.
Well, don't make us blush, man.
Right. We're here to put you over. But, I mean, keep talking. Keep talking.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
No, man, it's good to have you. Thank you for being on here with us. We do appreciate you for being the official first guest on the Exotic Truth podcast.
It's been a while since we've seen you, too, man. How have you been?
Man, I've been ran ragged up and down the highway. I'm humping that road, so to speak, coast to coast, making moves, trying to learn everything I can possibly learn about professional wrestling. Unlike you, spry young men, I got my start in the business late in life. So my fault. Do you guys watch the Creed movies? Have you seen all the Creed movies?
I haven't. I'm like horrible with any movie references, really.
Right. That's Exotic Youth as a whole. I think Peps is the only person that watches movies in the group. And of course, he's not here.
The most recent one, the storyline, it's a very pro wrestling story they tell the most recent Creed. He helps a friend who went to jail when they were kids. Now he comes out of jail, and he pretty much swerves them to get a title match. And like when he confronts him, like, yo, dude, why did you do that? He goes, I'm not getting any younger, and I'm coming for everything. Yeah, I'm not getting any younger. Time's ticking, and I'm coming for everything. I got my start in pro wrestling at 36 years old. I've dropped a brick on the accelerator, and I'm not letting up. I waited 36 years for this opportunity. I want to learn everything anybody can teach me. I want to see everything everybody can show me. I want to hear every story. I want to learn it all. I want to see it all. I want to do it all. So I'm all in. Chips in the middle. Let's go.
You're definitely on the right track. I mean, you're seeing more than most indie guys, to be honest. With the track that you've been.
From where you were when we first met you to where you are now, I mean, it seems like, from my understanding, that you're in a whole lot more hands-on position.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and I want to give a big shout out to my superior, Mike Kitless. He is the top dog in the events coordinator game. I do answer to him. I am his second. So for those of you thinking that I am not the only face in event coordinating in MLW, I'm a trusted face. I'm a reliable face. I'm not the guy, though. So I wouldn't be in this position without him giving me the opportunity of a lifetime. When I met you guys in Dallas, did I tell you my entry story, how I got my entry into wrestling?
I don't think so. That was actually one of the things we were going to ask you, but great segue.
So much like everyone in the business, we're all here because we got infected with wrestling at a young age. That's why we're all here. And I want to say that I was a little different than most kids. Obviously, I loved all the tropes of pro wrestling, but I've always been a business and numbers person, even as a kid. And I've been fascinated. Like I used to be so fascinated by attendance and like what tickets cost to this show versus what tickets cost to this show. And that was as a child. So everything I ever did in my life, I always likened it to pro wrestling for an understanding. Like college business and finance courses, like that's live gates, that's ad revenue, that's overhead, that's ring run, that's all the things that go into wrestling. And that's how I connected the dots to most things. Talking to girls, you're cutting a promo, job interviews. That's the sit down interview, serious time with JR. Like it's all a persona. You're showing them what they want to see in that specific instance and exactly how they want it delivered to them. I liken everything to life and wrestling, so to get my understanding. But I went to college with Mike. and the Taz show was doing a Facebook Live, and I kind of avoid Facebook Live because I usually hate it. But I dumped into the Taz show because I was such a big fan, and was the reason I started podcasting. Taz was a huge inspiration. And it'll tell you if your mutual friends are in there. At the time, Mike was in the chat room. I sent him a direct message like, hey, man, didn't realize you were like a Taz show fan. I didn't realize you were a wrestling fan. He goes, yeah, man, absolutely. Actually, I worked for MLW if you ever want to come check out a show. And where I was in life at that point, I come from a small town, North Carolina, right outside of Winston-Salem. Shout out the good people at AML. Grew up in a family of wrestling fans, NWA family. We watched it all, Attitude Era, ECW, WCW, all of it. We watched everything. And, oh, God, I completely lost my train of thought. Where was I at with this? Yes. Went off to college, did the whole thing. He's like, come up, check it out sometime. So I strove to get a good job and make the money and have the this, that, and the other that comes with having a degree and good money and all this. And I had it, and I got there, and I was just miserable. Man, was I miserable. And I was also like, I don't understand. Like, my wife and I, we launched a successful business. My podcast was doing very well. I'm sure we'll get into that later on, but launched the pod. The pod was doing very well. Like, I was making all this money I ever wanted, and I just felt so empty, and I didn't know what it was. And as soon as he invited me there, like, he could have said it was in Australia, and I would have gone. It was like, done, sold, absolutely. He's like, are you sure? It's like, where is it? Like, Philadelphia. I'm there. I literally bought a plane ticket that night. Me and the wife, we went up to Philly. Then the show, I went and found. I was like, yeah, man, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is it. This is what I've been looking for this entire time. And he gives me the usual answer when I'm sure you guys have heard it too. Like, sure you do, man. I hope you enjoyed the show. Come see us next time. And you're in your situations, I'm sure, like, if you're serious about training, I can, get you the information. Otherwise, I'll see you at the next show. And he told me, hey, man, thanks for coming. If you want to come to the next show, let me know. Thank you. Thank you. It was good seeing you. I told him I was as serious as I could be. It's like, all right, well, if you're serious, I will see you at this address on this date at this time. And I showed up front and center. Like, I'm here. What do you need me to do? I'll do whatever you want. And I didn't know everything there was. I didn't really know anything there was about the inside baseball pro wrestling at the time. Like, I figure if I just outwork every single person I feel like has my level of knowledge and a few who have more knowledge than I do, I'll be all right. I'll be this guy's shadow. I will try to think outside of the box, 2 steps ahead of the game, because I'm in kind of the opposite situation that most people are in wrestling. I'm a business person with a passion for wrestling, learning the wrestling business. It's usually the other way around. It's usually I've entered the wrestling business. Now I need to understand how to do the actual business on the back end to marry the two together. So I'm kind of in reverse. So that is how I landed this spot. And after about show 3 or 4, Mike was just like, you know what, buddy, I think you work here now. I was like, all right. And I haven't missed a show since. So knock on.
That definitely sounds like the wrestling business. That's how a lot of things happen. It's just like you're there and then you become part of it because they realize that's a valuable piece to the puzzle. I totally identify everything you said about the college experience and then going to the wrestling business after that. I actually started training like a week after I graduated with a bachelor's in accounting, and then I got my master's in business while I was finishing up training. So I definitely had that same lens when I was going around traveling as well when I first got started out, but I did do it like pretty quickly. I always knew from the time I was a kid that that's what I was going to do. But that's very interesting. I've never heard anybody else put it that way, especially how you said that that you really just dropped everything. You were miserable. You had everything you thought you wanted with the money, and you had the career that you had been working towards, but it wasn't fulfilling. That's how I was when I first started out in accounting, like while I was first getting bookings in wrestling. And I was like, yeah, I can't sit here at this desk all day and not pursue this. And I realized that like getting a job like that would make it impossible to excel in wrestling to the level that I wanted to be at too. So
yeah, but let's not lose in translation. Like those of you who are listening to this and have those aspirations and those dreams for the business, funding the dream is just as important as chasing.
No, definitely is.
You're like, do not quit your day job and think you're going to make enough money out of the shooting pro wrestling to maintain any semblance of a decent lifestyle. Keep your day job. Do that.
Right. Wrestling is definitely one of those perception is reality type deal.
Oh yeah.
It looks like the glitz and the glams, but I mean, even with these like WWE documentaries that come out these days, you hear like Damian Priest just released his, and he talks about how he's homeless, living in his car. Like
Right.
it's not the dollar signs when you first start out, but it's the passion and the love for the business that gets you through that. I mean, AJ, you mentioned you had the money. It's like, and the money wasn't there. You strive to make money in your journey, but the passion outweighed that type deal, which is awesome to hear. And you mentioned like, Mike had told you, I think you work here now. So when we met you in Dallas, what show is that for you? How far along were you with them at that point?
I think I was in like show 4. I want to say at that point 4.
So it was right around that time of,
yeah.
Hey, you work here now.
Yeah, it was. If that wasn't the "You Work Here" show, because like I remember, this is awful. This is so bad. I'm going to say it on the air because I saw the date on this show. I was like, why in the world are we running a date on a Thursday? I didn't put 2 and 2 together that it was WrestleMania weekend. And so when he messaged me, he's like, "You buy your plane ticket?" Yeah, I was like, I mean, yeah, but do you mind if I ask why we're working on a Thursday? And I felt like the biggest idiot when he laid that out. And like, well, duh, AJ, no wonder. I was like, all right, well, how about this? I'm going to start doing and stop asking questions because it'll lower my percentages of sounding stupid when I get a response because I've missed the bouncing ball in front of my face. So from now on, I just go with it.
Right.
Yeah,
it's funny that you mentioned like the whole Thursday thing is like as a kid, I was lucky enough as a kid to grow up with independent wrestling. My granddad took me all the time to shows in the area. My dad did as well. But I had no idea how big independent wrestling was. I actually went to the WrestleMania in Atlanta here, and I had no idea that it was like a week-long thing. I just thought, okay, they got the super sport. Like
I had no idea there was anything extra either.
Yeah, like had I known like independent shows were running throughout the city, I probably would have been there all week. But
I didn't even know indie wrestling was a thing, really. Like I thought that indie wrestling was like, I don't know. I still thought everybody was still kind of that same level. I never really seen local like starting out talent or like freshly trained guys until like I was in high school, and then I found out like that I could go train. So I trained for like a few months then, but I didn't really follow up with that until after college because there was not one in the area. But
so I'm 40. How old are you guys?
I'm 29.
I'm 26.
So I'll be 40 literally next month, actually. But I just remember in the early, and I'm from right outside Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The early days of the Hardys before they had gone to full-blown UFO pants when they were wearing like the checkerboard with the tassels.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're being booked on TV and they're not
old enough to be booked on TV.
Right. They didn't have the proper documentation, apparently.
Yeah, we've seen them enough times. We know they're somebody.
Right.
And they're not enhancement anymore. They worked Raw, and then worked an indie in my hometown like that following Friday. And even as a kid, I was like, wait a minute, and that's when it kind of like the light kind of ticked on for me a little bit. It's like, how are you allowed to do both? So that was kind of my introduction to indie wrestling. I saw the flyer when I was in town. I was like, Dad, I don't think you realize this, but this guy is like a big deal. Like, we need to go to this show. It was the Greenwich Posse, one of the members of the Greenwich Posse and someone else versus the Hardys. Like, I guess they were just getting ring time or something was happening, but I definitely saw a member of the Mean Street Posse and someone else versus the Hardys in like my hometown YMCA.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think like the Hardys were literally on like a handshake deal with WWE their first few years, just because they weren't old enough once it got out that they weren't old enough, but they had been getting used so much, like you were saying, that it was kind of like, well, and so I think they were like on a handshake deal because I want to say I heard a story where they would go up to Michael Hayes and he'd have like the cash box and give them their money and they'd chew on. That could be a lie, but that's what I've heard.
It's crazy, like how many things are so similar at every level. You know, there's some things that just never change. Seems like.
What are you telling? Are you trying to posit an ideal that someone may have exaggerated something in pro wrestling folklore? Is that what you're telling me? I don't buy it. It's not possible. There's no
what.
No, I mean, this is the
Oh,
most honest business that you could be in, I think.
What's that world famous Balls Mahoney story where he said he fought a shark, or like he
I believe him.
Killed a shark with his bare hands?
I feel like every wrestler over like 40 has one of those. And it's always something ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't have one yet. Hopefully, I won't have one anytime soon. I want as few stories that circulate in wrestling as possible. Because if you got stories that are circulating, there's like an 85% chance it's not a good reason.
Well, I mean, speaking of stories, there is a story we would like you to get into, and that is not putting ourselves over, but meeting us before you realized you were
Let's take it back
you were
before that,
scanning
like,
tickets.
I guess like just give your I don't know, your impression for the first time that you've seen us, you came across us, and then I guess
Oh man,
oh gosh, I don't know if you want to hear that one, Zach. If he's
I
on,
do. I want to hear it all. If it's good, if it's bad, I don't care. I want to hear it.
So Mania Weekend was the first real show. I don't want to say I was trusted with you guys, but like I was like, these folks are helping out. Show them what we do, kind of help them get organized and what we need them to do. Like, I'm not saying I was in charge of you guys, but I was in charge of kind of laying out what I needed you guys to do. Let's just say
you were our handler.
It was my understanding you were in charge of us.
Okay,
yeah,
I was totally in charge of you guys. Like
we were told to listen to AJ, and we were like, all right, cool, we'll stand here.
Yeah. All right. So like I was saying, I was totally in charge of you guys, like I knew the whole time. It was great. So it's like just kind of show them what we're gonna do, get them set up for tickets. You guys were the first row. Before that, I was just kind of part of the general helping schmaz. But as the dust kind of settled, like that was my first like assignment.
So we were like your first people to tell what to do.
Because the show before that was Charlotte, and I live here, and like it's not the same because I know these people.
Right.
Yeah, but
we were your first strangers.
Yes.
So
Zach is dressed in this triple black Kenny Powers with tassels level outfit with cowboy boots,
Blanca.
a mullet that is just glistening in the wind, and this mustache that just screamed low budget independent film. I was like, okay, well, from what I've understood about wrestlers in this lane, they're here to get people's attention and be noticed. It's working. I have a terrible habit. If I don't know your name, I'm going to call you some other wrestler, and I have to stop doing that. I called him Pillman for the first, frankly, the whole time. Let's be honest. I called him the whole time. He is Zach Mosley. He's a hell of a talented professional wrestler, and I'll never call you that again. I've made it my mantra about the last year to stop doing that to people.
I honestly forgot you even called me that until today.
Yeah. Bryce Cannon had this sweet goatee, and he was on the fence about the facial hair situation. There was a sweet lady in his life. Don't know if she's still around. We're not gonna. He was like, "How do you think I look? My lady likes it this way. I like it this way." Ultimately, I thought he looked like more of a frat broski with a beard, and it kind of really punched the look. And Cornelius Pepperbottom. You don't run across a lot of Cornelius Pepperbottom, so it was a unique name attached to a very unique looking guy. I just remember when we had to let the VIP people in the door, like, "Hey, Pillman, tell the VIP people they can come on in." I'm assuming that he knew to give a cordial announcement, like, "Hey, everybody, if you have VIP tickets, come on in. Welcome." He all but kicked the front door open, like, "VIP, get on in here," something like that. Like they were
what?
He thought he was supposed to start the show before the show started.
Yeah, like he was herding them in like cattle, and then marched in with the "what did I do" look on my face. Like, why? How does that seem like a good idea? But I spent, and around that time we're getting to know each other. At the time before my old man brain really kicked in, I was wrestling encyclopedia. If I've seen you at least once, I will know you from something. And the second I said North Carolina, like, "Oh, we just worked AML." That tag match you guys just worked immediately popped in mind. Like, I just saw you guys 4 months ago. Like, you guys are great. And that is one consistent thing I can say about you guys. Marketing, investing, you get it. You get the business end of wrestling. Like, I've been on many a podcast, wrestling or otherwise. the professionalism, the punctuality, even the graphics you guys have on the screen. You showed me a sizzle reel at that WrestleMania that you guys invested more time, money, and effort in than, frankly, anything else any other independent wrestler has showed me in the last 3 years. Period.
Wow.
Full stop. That sizzle reel was unbelievable.
Damn, man.
I was so blown away
Appreciate
by
that.
it.
Yeah.
Like and that's why you guys get the opportunities you get. That's why you get booked the way you get booked. When your names are entering a promoter's mouth and being announced to the public, they know they put their faith in people who are going to do all the things they have to do to make it the best show possible. As an event coordinator, my job is to set everyone up to take part in the best event possible, from fans to wrestlers to the actual people who run the building, and leave a good taste in every single person's mouth. And your job as workers, you have one job and one job only: to give the absolute best performance / experience to every man, woman, and child in the building. Would I be correct on that sentiment?
Absolutely.
And you don't care about how many people are there. You don't care about the gate. You don't care about the ad revenue. None of that matters if you don't do your job to the best of your ability between those ropes, on that mic, or in that backstage promo. The second you start concerning yourself, or I start concerning myself with anything outside of those things, we have a problem. And you're not going to get where you want to be, and you're not going to do things you want to do once you take your focus off of that main glaring thing I align for you and me. You guys got your eyes on the prize, and that's why you're consistently working. There are independent wrestlers everywhere who are like, wow, why can't I get booked? I couldn't give me a book there, couldn't give me a book there. You can get yourself booked if you do what you're supposed to do. Totally. You can always get yourself booked. Like, me getting you booked isn't going to do a thing for you if you're still not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
That's
so.
Absolutely.
I digress. I'm patting some backs right now, Barry Horowitz style.
Absolutely.
You
Keep
guys deserve it, man.
Hey, this is the most quiet we've ever been, so we love it.
Hey, man, I'm a
he has a great mindset about the business, and that makes me curious. Like, did you ever have the idea of wanting to be a wrestler when you were growing up, or you just wanted to get involved later on in life?
So I was an athlete in college, in high school, football, wrestling, baseball, whole thing. Wrestling, my first college wrestling match, true freshman year, was against Filthy Tom Waller. How about that?
Oh,
that
wow.
was literally the first college wrestling match as a true freshman of my entire career. I work with Tom now. We've had a good laugh about it a couple times.
I was about to say full circle.
Well, how'd it go?
Well, Tom was like a 3-time All-American at that point, and I was like 18.
So you won, right?
No.
We'll just say you did for the record.
Nah, listen.
You can't put that out. You don't want to slander him.
I like to own every loss I had. You earn losses the same way you earn wins. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot from getting just dragged up and by Tom Lawler that fateful day in Pembroke, North Carolina. But yeah, strong wrestling background. Like, I came from a powerhouse high school program, one of the winningest coaches in the country. Like, I was receiving votes nationally my senior year at the Division II level, all conference. Like, had an amazing senior year, the East Coast All-Star Classic. I was in the voting for the MVP for that. It was great. Good time. Had I known about the opportunities with professional wrestling the way you guys knew, I would have absolutely gone into professional wrestling. I just didn't know where the jumping off point was to find training or to do any of that. Like, I didn't know where to start. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's true. I like sought it out and researched it probably by the time I was 14 and knew like exactly when I could do it.
Had I known that coming out of college in the shape I was in, like, then, oh my God, the sky was the limit. But that door, shout out to the NCAA, as I donated multiple ACLs to them, that door has closed.
Yeah, I think it's weird, like, everybody's story of how they get into wrestling. Like you mentioned, like, you didn't know how to like look for training or anything like that to get in the business. Mine literally, like I mentioned, my granddad would take me to independent events, and after he had passed, there was a local promotion that started back up. So I went to the show, and after the show, I went up to the concession stand and just asked them, like, "Hey, do you have anybody back there that you know, trains professionally?"
Like, sure, I'll train you how to wrestle.
Luckily, it was one of the wrestlers' wives, and she was like, "Yeah, there's a guy who trains up here on Sundays. I'll give you his contact." And that's how I got professionally trained through the concession stand.
Man, and don't get it twisted. No matter how, I don't even want to use the word glamorous, but people have said to me that my position looks glamorous. I promise you. For every bit of glam you see, it's 3 parts, long days. When y'all are long gone, we got to make sure that lighting rig gets out of there, and sign off on the building, and we get back to that hotel about 3 hours after everybody else has left. And it can be rough some days, man, like really and truly. But what's that? But I use this little adage every time someone inquires about wrestling. Don't say you love it if you don't mean it. Because they will test, because wrestling will test every letter of that word to its fullest extent. You better love it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, staying late, making sure lighting rigs are put away. You're making sure the venue's getting cleaned properly. You're making sure no holes were punched in doors, things like that. Being a live events coordinator, what that mean? What all goes into being a Major League Wrestling live events coordinator?
Now, admittedly, that answer changes depending on the venue. I'll give 2300 Arena. We did a residency there, about a 1.5 year residency. I know Philadelphia better than I know I live in Charlotte, better than I know a lot of Charlotte at this point. You get there about talent usually arrives to the building. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure this has been previously laid out by the Exotic Youth. Just because you flip through TV and you see Dynamite or Monday Night Raw starting at 8, they didn't get to the building at 6:30, guys. No. And by flipping through and seeing Dynamite, I mean seeing the Exotic Youth roughly 5 to 6 times a year, but I digress. Like you guys get more face time on AEW TV than any 2 men I've ever seen. They must love you guys.
Yeah, I mean,
they have their moments.
If they love us or not, but they definitely I think they think something of us. I'm not sure what.
Being on screen once, okay, right place, right time. They needed someone. You guys have been on AEW TV 5 times.
We get a good habit of being in the right place, right time, I think is what it is. Because we're kind of like the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing. We always try to be in position when somebody might think of something.
Like the last time we were at AEW, we got thrown around by Hook, but that day was wild because I got pulled to do the wrestlers' entrances because it was
Page's brother too that day.
What's that? Oh yeah. That was the same.
I popped huge for that.
Or was that?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't the same episode, but we filmed it that day because it was like Rampage. I think they had filmed it for. But yeah, no, it's one of those wrestling's right time, right place. Like I said, got pulled to the side to do wrestlers' entrances because they had just debuted their new stage that night, and they wanted to make sure lighting and everything. That was cool enough. But then we're sitting there standing, and Dustin Rhodes comes up to us, and he's looking at it. He goes, "Where's the other extras?" And we're like, everybody's kind of scattered around right now. We're not sure. He goes, "Which one's the lightest out of you?" And me and Zach both point to Peps like, this is the guy. He goes, "You want to get put through a table?" And me and Zach are like, "We're about to see our boy get destroyed." Yes. And Peps is like, "Yeah, absolutely." He goes, "You're going to take a power bomb." If you know Cornelius Pepperbottom, there's 2 things he doesn't like: the dark and heights. It don't matter how high the power bomb is. He's petrified. So I know his mind's racing the whole time.
Grab onto the side of the cage, and the guy's going down. Just he's hanging on like a bear on the side of this thing.
You just hear no.
He's starts kicking at the guy.
But yeah, you could tell there was fear in his eyes, but he was trying to look stoic because Dustin Rhodes is asking him if he wants to take a power bomb to the table. Because their whole set was new. The new announce tables, new entrance. So they were seeing how this table would crumble, I think. But
man, that wasn't even the best part. This wasn't even going to be on TV. It was just backstage.
Right. Yeah. This was just backstage. Yeah. But he ended up not getting to do it because they had some kind of malfunction. Yeah. Nick Halen. I think Nick Halen took it.
But a day in the life of an event coordinator.
Yeah. Back to that. Sorry.
Yeah,
we're way off track.
You're all good, man.
We will do that.
And I'm going to actually pivot. I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to use Atlanta as it's a better example because we'll be back there September 4th for MLW Fightland. So I got to plug that. So I'll use Atlanta as the best example. But with all venues, talent gets there around like 1, 2-ish, I want to say. Ring crew gets there around like 11, 12-ish, something like that. And the rest of like the front office arrives with like 3, 4-ish, maybe around that time. Live events, 8 a.m., maybe even 7 a.m. We usually literally open the building with the owners of the building. AC isn't even turned on yet. Nice and toasty in there. So we get in there, we shake the hands. We usually see, we make sure that the load in for the lighting went correctly. We make sure we have the spacing for what we want to do, barricades, rails, the ring, the stage, all that good stuff. If we walk in the front door and there's a giant hole in the stage, we need to address it. Not saying it's ever happened, but just an example. As the loading gets, by the time the boys get there, I've been in that building 4 or 5 hours, if not more. Sweated through my shirt 2 or 3 times, depending on the venue. Around the time the fans get there, whenever fans ask me, they've seen my face enough now that fans like ask me questions and things like that. They're like, "Man, you must be so excited! Like, you know, your night's just starting. You got a lot ahead of you." Like, brother, by the time the fans get there, like I'm on the downward slope.
Yeah.
The legwork has been done. Like, y'all just enjoy the show, have a good time, and the second you get out of here, I get to close out the last 15% of my day. But they get in. We make sure the ring is set up appropriately as far as the aisle length we want, center to the stage. The rail company usually shows up with a rail rental, and you always want to make sure you have too many rails. You never want to have not enough rails. Very, very important part of pro wrestling. You come up short on rails, Houston, we got a problem. Knock on wood, it's never happened. So far, so good. Usually, the handshaking brigade comes in. You guys know the handshaking brigade. Got to shake those hands.
Mm-hmm.
We've been around enough now that I'm going to know a vast majority of the people, so I have a pretty good rapport with most people. Ring gets loaded in. We usually get the canvas situation taken care of. Boys do the walkthrough. Around this time, we got to round everybody up for meet and greets. If people are going to meet Mystico or Matt Riddle, all those other things, they're going to get in the building about an hour before everyone else, as they should, because they paid the extra money. So we want to make sure to give them the best possible experience, so they spent their money with us. You got to do the wrestler wrangle. I've been very fortunate. We've never had a person who wasn't just like all about it. Whoever, they never given any pushback. Shout out to Matt Riddle. I love Matt Riddle. The absolute nicest guy. I don't know how things went for him in the Fed. I don't know how things went for him in the UFC. All I can speak on is his time in MLW. He is the most peaceful, professional, go with the flow, happy to be here guy I've ever worked with. God bless Matt Riddle. Can't say enough things. Like, goes out of his way to make sure every autograph is signed. This, that, and the third. Get him back there. Show starts. If anyone needs streamers thrown, I'm not going to say I know who it is, but I may or may not know the secret society of streamer assassins who sneak in and out like Batman in the darkness to make sure.
You mean those aren't fans?
Yeah, totally fair. Yeah, for sure. Like, and they know to throw the streamers crisscross applesauce. Yeah, no problemo. So it looks nice and crisp for TV. Life is good. I would sit here and kayfabe you, but I'm literally standing next to fans taking pictures of me holding the streamers. It's kind of hard to hide that it's me.
Yeah.
Next time you see a streamer on MLW television, there's 95% chance I'm the one throwing it. Especially in Atlanta. Notice the streamers come flying from the dark pits.
It do be like that.
Absolutely. And then my favoriteest part of the day, the catering arrives. Oh, the catering. It's when you reap the benefits of a long and early morning.
We must have missed that.
Oh, shout out to Brandy.
It wasn't there that day, but that's because they had to keep moving it around, I think, you know?
Shout out to Brandy, our travel coordinator, the nice lady who orders our catering. I've never left unsatisfied. As a man of super heavyweight status, a Jonah of sorts, if you will, or what's his WWE name? I can't think
Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed, excuse me.
A man of Bronson Reed status, I leave very satisfied. Shout out to catering. Around those times, the batteries are recharged. An aggressive hydration breaks out. We make sure that every fan gets a thank you. This is the thing I do. I want to personally thank and shake the hand of as many fans as possible and thank them for coming, because those same fans always find me the next time we're in town and are excited to see me every time. Thank you so much. Anyone that helps me, I tell you, you shake their hand, you thank them for coming. We can't do it without them. We want them to feel appreciated. And the next time you see these tickets go on for sale, I want them to ring in their head. They thanked me for coming personally.
So I'm curious, would you say that you're probably like the person who they see as like the customer service, kind of like a experience maker kind of person who's like on that side of the fence, like the fans would see you as that, and you'd be kind of like that person in charge of that experience?
That's absolutely the moniker that Mike, I guess I want to use the word train, like showed me the light, smartened me up, gave me my training wheels. Like that is exactly the mantra Mike preaches, and I try to enforce every time. Like, we create experience, we bring solutions. The little kid drops his soda, go buy the kid a soda. If so-and-so is unhappy with something that's happened at the concession stand or their treatment by someone else, by all means, send that person to me. That's why I'm here. We all have different roles, and when the show starts, we're all helping with the same general idea. I think we all know that. But there are people-specific issues that need to be handled. And if a fan experience issue comes up, myself and Mike are the first points of contact. And we're kind of getting to a point where I want to take more off Mike's plate, and he's trusting me with more. He's usually handling things on a larger scale. And I would like to think, again, knock on wood, I'm equipped so far to have handled all the things that have been thrown at me to make sure everyone's having the best Major League Wrestling experience possible. And if you really take the time to listen to people, you'd be surprised how easy the solution is. Because sometimes people just want to be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
that's a lot of good wisdom, man. I'm taking this because we actually book a show in Savannah, Georgia. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Coastal Empire Wrestling. And that's great advice, I think. So I'm picking your brain a little bit on that.
Absolutely. Brother, please rip this off for me. Shake every hand on the way in, shake every hand on the way out, and thank them, because you need them. You need every person that bought a ticket.
No doubt. I guess I'm still trying to learn how to balance like the wrestler and promoter kind of thing at the same time, with being able to go out there and tell them, because I'm obviously doing too many things for one person. But
yeah. And with you being talent, maybe you shouldn't be that accessible.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah,
and that's been my dilemma.
Because it's going to take some of that.
But I need to get someone who can shake every hand.
Yeah, if they've been looking at you for the last 3 hours and your music hits, the pop's just not going to be the same.
Right. It's like, I'm ushering people to their seats, and then I'm in the ring 20 minutes later. It's not going to work.
So how about this? Maybe you don't personally shake the hand, but the people who are helping you out, preach that mantra to them, because they are an extension of you.
Yeah, that's good advice for sure. That's what I was thinking.
Every time I do anything in wrestling, including this podcast, I have to filter it through my brain of the guy that showed me the way. Would Mike approve of the words coming out of my mouth? Am I protecting the business? Am I conducting myself like a professional while representing our brand? And that is what I get offended when I hear people disrespect the business. Like, I have to bite my tongue a lot. Because after, like, especially, and I don't even read wrestling stuff on the internet anymore. When someone's just telling you something that's just flat out, you in your brain, you decided that's what was happening. You have no reason to believe that. You just decided that was the narrative in your head. So you're going to just broadcast it across the internet. I have had paragraphs typed out where I've had to stop and delete it. Because all it takes is one person putting two and two together, or going to my socials page and figuring out, like, MLW events coordinator gets an online battle with da-da-da-da-da. That gets back to Mike. Then I'm in hot water, heated water.
Yeah.
I don't
like
that.
That's the thing too, is like that you hear the phrase all the time, like one bad apple ruins the bunch. That one action that somebody thought negatively about is gonna overtake every good thing, every guardrail that has been accounted for, and you've had proper guardrails each time. They're not gonna think of that. No. They're gonna think,
yeah, I mean, because when
what
it
did he just say?
If you catch a lawsuit or something like that, it's just so expensive that the value you brought is often not going to be worth the settlement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and every time I think about my next move in this industry and things, I have to think about the level of trust that went into putting me in this position. Mike and owner Court Bauer have a great relationship. MSL, great relationship. They have a relationship. They didn't know me from Moses
Mhm.
And I'm here on the strength of Mike's recommendation. Like, he's a great guy. He's got a great mind for business. He understands, he gets it. We need to trust this guy. I can never give them a reason to think that I can't have their trust. So that is something, it's a mantra I live by in professional. I can never give Court or MSL or any of the people who make the decisions in MLW a reason to not trust me for a single second. It is paramount at all times for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly why you've been so successful with what you've done. And, you've been instrumental to their growth over the past few years, I think. I mean, definitely any promotion, it takes a large team of people who all are passionate about what's going on, who all have the same vision in mind and know where they're going. But it's really awesome to see what you've been able to accomplish while you're there and getting to see you dive into the wrestling business. I mean, you took a leap of faith and you did it, and it worked out for you. And I try to tell people that all the time. I mean, you'll never achieve your goals or your dreams if you just sit there and don't do anything about it.
I'm not part of creative, but I'm very, it's overwhelming at times when my opinion is asked about something and I give it and they take it. And sometimes, they take it with a grain of salt. No, okay, maybe, I don't know. And sometimes it makes TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have had 2 or 3 things just flat out make TV. And I have to take a minute for myself, my opinion carried enough weight, or my idea was just good enough in general. It actually made TV. I can tell you what they are, but I think it's probably best that I don't. Not that I think it would ruffle any feathers, but that's not my job. So I'm not taking credit for anything that makes TV. That's not what I do.
Right.
But it was definitely a moment like
that. And it's like, I said, it's awesome that you were able to do that and that they were open to it. And it's also awesome. I don't want to understate how important it is to be that person who's in charge of the customer experience as opposed to creative. I mean, those are 2 separate things, but I think you see it on the indies a lot where a show that may not necessarily be the best show draws double some of the shows that have some of the best talent on. And I think that's probably the difference. The promoters are actually going around letting the fans know they appreciate them. They're trying to make sure everyone's satisfied. And that can't be understated because that's a hard job to do. I mean,
if I had to throw a little jewel out there, your merch stands. From every merch stand in America, maybe the Fed and AEW, they don't have the runway because they got so much foot traffic. Everybody else, you need to make your merch stand the most interactive thing. Get a talent up there, have him shout out to one of my wrestling best friends, Mr. Thomas, Boomaye Fight Club. Any chance he gets, he goes to the merch stand, flexes for pictures, talks up the merch, makes the merch stand its own animal within itself. Man, I loved your match tonight. It's like, oh, did you? Did you like the shirt I wore? Yeah. Funny you mentioned, got that shirt right here. Oh, really? How much? Brother, throw that shirt on. Let's take a picture right now. Mr. Thomas knows how to make the merch stand an experience, not just shirts with stickers with a number on it. Makes it. Shout out to our boy, Oos. Love you, Jacob Fatu. Couldn't be prouder of you. He has personally made the merch experience level up a few times because of his infectious energy and his love and him being the people person that he is. His presence elevates people, makes people excited about buying merch, excited about spending their money on their favorite wrestler, him or otherwise. It just makes people want to be by the merch stand. And sometimes that's just half the battle. Give me a reason to be by the merch stand. It's just like impulse purchasing at a super box store like a Walmart. Why don't they run more registers at Walmart? Well, because if they let the line back up, you're stuck staring at all the impulse purchases and the candy and the soda and the magazines and all the things you would have otherwise blown past and not given a second thought to. Maybe you don't want that magazine now. Look at that magazine for 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe I do want this magazine. Mm-hmm. You never give them a chance to feel that. You never give them a chance to feel that way if you never put them in the position long enough.
Right. So I've got a couple of questions for you. For putting your fan brain on, in your position, who is somebody that you kind of look back and you're like, man, I never thought I would be working with this person, and here I am building a relationship with this person. And then second off, well, I forgot my second question, so go ahead and answer that one, and I'll try to remember this other one.
Early days of MLW, we had Savio Vega as an agent, I believe. And I said, I'm 40. So around like the 14, Ringmaster Stone Cold Steve Austin was in maybe his most underrated feud with Savio Vega. From the WrestleMania 12 match, the In Your House Caribbean strap match. They have, you young men, if you have not watched the Savio Vega Steve Austin feud, absolutely incredible. Some of the best ring work, some of the best psychology. WrestleMania 12 is your best jumping off point. Watch that match. Then go watch the Caribbean strap match. My family, we were big Savio Vega fans. Couldn't tell you what it is or why it is, but sometimes it's the best thing about certain wrestlers. You couldn't write down on a piece of paper why you like this guy, but you just like this guy. And me and my family, we liked Savio Vega. And obviously we're NWA Southern family, WCW people, so we know it's Stunning Steve Austin. But that was a moot point. We wanted Savio Vega to kick his backside. Love Savio. So when I first started with the company, obviously I introduced myself enough times. I remember we were in Philly. I was doing something up front, and Savio Vega walks up and, AJ, so good to see you. I think my response was, oh my gosh, I can't believe you remembered my name. It's an honor. I'm excited to work with you again. We're going to have a great show. Glad to see you again, Savio. And I absolutely melted on the inside. Mm-hmm. Couldn't keep it together. Like, had to go outside and take a deep breath. Can't handle life right now. Like, Pop, you'll never believe it. I made it. Savio Vega, even if he forgot it after he said it, Savio Vega knew my name. So that was my moment where I just lost my mind.
That's awesome. I think my other question was, where do you see yourself going from here forth, whether it be with the company, or would you rather, try to branch out to another company and try to get a major role, or like kind of where do you see yourself in 5 years through this position?
You know what? I'm not going to give you a conventional answer because this isn't a conventional business. I don't think that far ahead. You can't rest.
Good.
You know what?
Good.
You know what could happen between now and 5 years?
That's very true. You can't bank on nothing. You can't, you never know what you might be. You might be working at WWE tomorrow. You might be working at MLW for the next 20 years. You might be.
You may just step wrong and your knee blow out. Yeah.
Hey, I did that one too. I'm with you. I've done that one. Yeah. Dude, I wouldn't even buy a plane ticket more than a show out. Like, I wouldn't. You kidding me? Like, what if I show up and say something stupid and they don't want me to come around anymore?
Right.
One show at a time. I couldn't tell you, but my goal is to contribute to professional wrestling and help these men and women have a place to earn a living and give them the best possible chance to succeed doing so with the things I can control. That's what I think about every moment of every show, whether it's MLW or I'm giving somebody a hand other places, or I'm showing up other places, Scott Hall style. You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. Yeah, I want my hand in everything in professional wrestling to make it better. I could give you a laundry list of things I don't like about the industry that I won't say on the air. And I used to be really frustrated about it until I understood that I'm in more of a position to bring change in those areas than I thought I could have ever been. Even if it's a little position, I'm in there. I can change little things. So my goal, without putting a timetable on it, is to bring the changes to the professional wrestling industry that frustrate me, and put my nose to the grindstone and put my efforts to work to change those things to make the industry better. And I'll just kind of leave that at that. Whether that's a month from now, 10 years from now, or till the day I leave this planet, that's what I want to do.
Awesome.
Yeah, anytime somebody's doing it for the right reasons, it seems like if they stick with it, they eventually get their opportunity. And that's really awesome to see you have that mindset, because I don't know if we ever really talked about it in depth like this. I mean, we've always caught up with each other and talked about what's going on more recently when we see each other, but it's really cool to hear your perspective on a lot of this. And I think there's a lot of stuff in here that if guys watch it, they'll probably learn something. So that's pretty cool.
I'd never tell anyone to stay in the same place for the rest of their life. Maybe you do. Maybe that works out great. Maybe you find a better opportunity. But you have to look at the people who put you in a position to succeed and the people who are looking out for you in this business. Not everybody's looking. When you find someone in this business that's looking out for you, you have to prioritize that over almost anything else. And in this business, the guy I answer to the man who showed me my way in wrestling and how to do my job to a high level. Man, I have unlimited respect for Mike Kittless, head event coordinator. I'm going to forever be loyal to him. I am. Until I'm put in a position and I wouldn't even think about making a move. And I'm not going to name their name. Last year, I had a conversation with someone else. And that company liked my ideas and I liked the way I thought, and we hit it off really well. And out of respect, I bounced that idea off of Mike, and he made it very clear, like, you can't do both. Mm-hmm. Like you can't be half pregnant. Like,
right.
Yeah, you can't moonlight. We look out for you. We take care of you. So if you want to go for that opportunity, I support you 110%. And there's no hard feelings, but it's either us or it's them. And I had to look big picture. That's an opportunity. This is a place where people are setting me up to succeed. There's no guarantees that opportunity would have put me in that position. That's just an opportunity. For all I know, I could be handed a run sheet day one and a hotel reservation and be told, like, all right, we'll make all this work now. Or, okay, well, you know what to do. I don't know how you want it done. I don't know who you want me to do it with. I don't know the fashion you like it done in. I don't know the mannerisms of the people who I have to please. There's a lot of factors at play versus the people who treated me like family and showed me the way. And maybe this is the way we show you, but you can do it this way and this way. And let me give you an example of how it could work this way. And Mike Kittless, Frank Gastineau, Mr. Thomas, the Boom Fight Club. You're some of my best friends in professional wrestling, and I've had my best interest at heart from day one, and I owe them more loyalty than I could ever verbalize, and that's why I very respectfully declined that offer from that other company and told them that I am in Major League Wrestling for the foreseeable future.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Speaking of the foreseeable future, you did mention earlier, MLW returning to Atlanta. If you want to go ahead and talk to us about that, and then we'll go ahead and get into your a little bit about your podcast.
Brother, MLW, September 14th. Fightland comes to Center Stage in Midtown Atlanta. It's going to be a great show. Some of the best professional wrestling in this world. World-class talent from Mexico, Japan, the United States, Canada, the UK. Please, tickets are available now on Ticketmaster. Come see us. Come check us out. And by all means, come shake my hand at the front door. I'll be the guy that looks like me, shaking hands, consensually kissing babies, making sure you have the best experience physically possible. I want you to leave our show a fan of Major League Wrestling and the things we do there.
Awesome. Yep. So you said September
14th.
Center Stage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hopefully the dogs don't play anybody too good that day.
They'll win. So, spoiler.
Yeah. I'd like to think they would.
Yeah, but let's go ahead and talk about AJ Presents the Greater Good. Go ahead and tell us about that podcast, what you're about. Don't talk too much because we're trying to get this podcast over, but no, I'm kidding. Go ahead, man. Take it away.
Yeah, we're coming up on our 9th season. AJ Presents the Greater Good, season 9, the beginning. Big things on the horizon. 9 years in, and just like I said earlier, all things of understanding in my life, I've tied to wrestling, from the way I market the show to the way I put the show together to the way I add drops, intro music. It's all wrestling centric. What's the old Eric Bischoff adage? Controversy creates cash. Let me pose you guys some questions. What's better, pepperoni pizza or Hawaiian pizza?
I like Hawaiian.
I like Hawaiian.
That's because you're smart. That's because you're smart, well-rounded men. And unfortunately, there's some people who have been depleted in life experience and intellect, and they side with the chicken tenders at a steakhouse pizza, aka pepperoni pizza, and we're just not having it.
I thought you were going to say aka Pepper Bottom, because that's
totally
a Pepper Bottom move.
That's what came to my mind too. It was like Peps.
Everybody gets an opinion. Mine's just the only one that's right. It's the on-demand audio comparison podcast where I offer people a platform to give me a well-crafted argument that I happily destroy. Gentlemen, question, which is better, pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
With the waffles.
Oh, Mr. Cannon, you've been led astray, bamboozled, hoodwinked. You fell in with the wrong crowd because they have you thinking you need training wheels because you can't be trusted with the syrup. In the pancake community, we have self-control with the syrup. We don't have to put up the gutters like you do in bowling.
I wouldn't say self-control. I just pick the pancakes up and dip them in the syrup instead.
Zach picks pancakes because the holes give him anxiety. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we've had 4 seasons of merch. We currently have the Pancakes Are Better Than Waffles t-shirt available. Check our Instagram. It's the top pinned post. DM us to place an order. We have been fortunate to sell out of 4 seasons of merchandise. We give a portion of proceeds to local public schools. I've had 9 seasons on of some pretty amazing guests, Hollywood actresses, playwrights, other podcasters, of course, professional wrestlers, Zane Riley of the Revolt, Mr. Thomas, Savannah Evans. And guess what we don't talk about on the show? Wrestling. Yep. Sorry, not one of those wrestling podcasts. You're going to have to learn about these people on a personal level and some of the things they're into. Would you rather hear these professional wrestlers answer the same 5 professional wrestling questions over and over? Unlike you guys, you hit me with some unique stuff, insight, perspective, but we've heard enough wrestling podcasts where they just keep getting re-asked the same thing. Yeah. Or do you want to know what members of the Boomerang Fight Club think is better, Twix or Kit Kat?
I've been wondering that for a long time, to be honest with you.
Well,
he was too scared to ask in Dallas.
Yeah, AJ presents the greater good.
I needed to know.
AJ presents the greater good, greater spelled GR number 8R. AJ presents the greater good, found on all major podcast platforms, most specifically iTunes, because they have the best ad revenue. So yeah, 9 seasons of podcasting. I promote it. I put it together. I create it. I use a wrestling mindset for all, from that to the merchandise to the growth of the show. We've ran 3 live events, 2 fundraisers. We've done a lot of great things. We're very fortunate to be going into our 9th season. Consistency is key, folks. Consistency is key with wrestling, with podcasting, with anything you do where you want people to invest in you. Keep showing up.
Absolutely. Well, AJ, we are close to the hour point. We try to keep these at an hour, and we do appreciate the insight you've given, all the information. A lot of it has been helpful, like Zach said, as bookers, as promoters of a show of our own. It's been very helpful. Tell the people where they can find you, where they can find the podcast. Go ahead and plug away and give your closing statements.
AJ presents the greater good, greater spelled GR8R. AJ presents the greater good. All major podcast platforms, all social handles. AJ presents the greater good on Twitter, aka X. It's AJ Greater Good, GR8R Good. Please check us out on the socials. We're doing a lot of fun stuff. We put up a lot of polls. I'm a very entertaining person on social media. Check out the podcast once again on all major platforms. MLW, September 14th, Midtown Atlanta, center stage. Come check us out. Come shake my hand. And we're going to do everything in our power to make you an MLW fan by the time you leave that building, because we can't do it without you. We thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. Support everyone you know who's doing a thing, whether it's podcasting, acting, singing, movies. Support your people. The efforts you put into supporting complete celebrity strangers, put that effort into your people around you who are going for their goals and searching for their dreams. Support everybody. Support the people you
love. Absolutely.
Man, what you are killer at these ads, dude.
It's almost like
I have you talking on the video. Come to MLW Live.
Brother,
running it down, bro.
If I didn't have scattered pre-workout brain, I wouldn't have flubbed as many words as I did right now. I've been doing this for 9 seasons.
Man, I wasn't going to say anything about it. That was incredible.
Yeah,
been doing it for 9 seasons, man. I kind of got it down at this point.
Killer.
Well, AJ, once again, dude, it was a pleasure talking to you. Pleasure catching up again. We hope to run into you September 14th. Hopefully the youth will show back up to MLW. But until then, man, stay safe and live life, bro.
September 14th, Hot Land. I'll see you there. Hopefully the Dogs can get it done this time. As a Florida State fan, sure wish they would have beat Alabama. That would have been nice. Thanks for that, Georgia. We really appreciated that. Go Noles.
Thank you for your time, man.
Man, I thought that went well.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the least anybody's ever heard me talk on here or anywhere for that matter. But I love to listen when somebody's giving good advice, valuable insight. Man, you and Peps, you just never go out and give all that advice out in the free world.
Hey, you just never listen to us.
The people who need to hear that, though, are probably not going to be the people who are listening. So, I don't know. That's why you can't miss a single episode of Exotic Truth. You never know what maybe we're going to be educational now. That's what
right. Well, before we wrap up, Zach, you got any shows this weekend?
Yeah, so I was gonna get my hands on El Hijo del Enigma this Sunday, but the Lucha show got postponed. So look out for a new date on that one. But this Saturday, XIW, Bay Haven, Florida, you'll see Zach Mosley versus Vordell Walker and Malik Avalon for the XIW Heavyweight Championship. And Peps is, I don't know, I guess he's having an allergic reaction to a chicken nugget or something because he's not going to be here all week. So it's just going to be me going down there, nobody to watch my back, and these behemoths.
To be fair, I haven't been invited, so I mean, it is what it is, I guess. But But I'm glad you got that out of the way, because I was sent a video of this past weekend that honestly kind of like broke my heart a little bit watching it, because it was something I just
after we've had such a positive and
I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here.
What are you bringing up now?
I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to get answers, to be quite honest. It broke my heart first to see a video of Brandon Benefield getting in the ring and destroying Exotic Youth. Not me, but
I'm telling you, somebody edited that video. That's not what really happened.
Then I do need answers for
I don't even know why he was in the ring.
This video.
To the trailer when you were real young. I get it, listen. But fight means fight. Fight! You're gonna do what I tell you to do.
What the hell? What is this? Since when do we listen to Gary Lamb?
That's just the one who's speaking for questions right now. I apologize. I would never do that to my. I would never do that to my brother.
I mean, you two are fighting right now like you're bitter rivals. Like,
I thought you talked tough better than that, and to punch me in the mouth like that. He started it, bro, and I was trying to keep everything on track all night long because we knew the objective. But Peps didn't want to stand up for Exotic Youth. He didn't want to stand up for us that night, but we'll make up.
You didn't want to stand up for Exotic Youth either. You literally swept Peps off of his feet and started beating him down as well.
I retaliated. But by the time I realized it was Peps, the next guy was already out there. I went red. I was seeing red.
Well,
I had such a great day, Bryce. Why would you bring that up? We had AJ Scales on here. What a fantastic, positive interview. And then this is all I'm going to be thinking about the rest of the day. Thank you.
Well, I couldn't get a hold of Peps due to him being on vacation.
Peps, call me.
I was waiting for this this moment in time to address it, and anyway.
I'm ashamed of it, really. Like, please cut it out.
Anyways, this has been a very entertaining, a very informative, a very professional episode 2 of The Exotic Truth. I'm Bryce Cannon. That sad man over there is Zach Mosley.
Damn you, Gary Lamb.
We look forward to seeing you next time.
Damn you, Gary.
Get ready, let's go.